Now I call this the holy trinity of gold prospecting. You're going to fit into one of three categories, which is gold prospecting with a metal detector, hard rock mining, or alluvial mining. You'll commonly see Australians metal detect because there's just no water out here. But metal detecting is only possible if the particle size of the gold in your area is big enough to detect. You're only going to find nuggets. So if you don't have the right geology, it's not going to work. Which leads us to this, hard rock mining. This is an open stope hard rock gold mine here. And what the old boys were chasing is this, aphorous quartz. Be my example. Aphorous quartz. This quartz here is their waste rock, so it's likely got very little to no gold in it. All aphorous means is that the quartz, or the lode deposit, is carrying gold. That goes to streams as well. You'll hear it described as aphorous wash in some circles. Lode deposits, like the one behind me here, are ultimately what feed the rivers and streams where we pan and sluice for gold. It takes a really long time for the gold to get from here into a creek. Now, contrary to popular belief, just because you're near the lode deposit doesn't mean you're going to get big chunky nuggets. In actual fact, most of the gold, at least in my area and a lot of other places around the world, the gold is ultra fine. You're not even going to be able to see it with your naked eye. So a lode deposit might not even be detectable by a detector because the gold is still too fine. So finally, that leaves us with aphorous streams. We want to be out there with pans, sluice boxes, high bankers, dredges, trommels, all manner of different systems to do the same thing, which is separating gold from soil, utilizing gravity and water. On our scale from easiest to hardest, it would be stream washing gold, then detecting, then hard rock mining. Today's mission is all about hard rock mining. To do that efficiently, you need to sample, and the easiest way you can sample any area is to come in with a metal detector and look in the waste rock that they threw up out of the mine, which is what this is. If you find gold in it, then you know that you can take a larger sample of rock to crush down and see if there's any fine gold in it. And we're going to collect about 20 litres of this material and run it through my rock crusher. These are some of the small pieces of gold I've managed to detect out of this pile so far. You can see it's got that beautiful hard rock shape, and indeed I've already got a few specimens telling me that the quartz in this area is carrying gold. And don't worry, in the metal detecting section of this video, you're going to see just how much junk it takes to get a few pieces of gold. The reason I've chosen this mine, besides the fact that I detected some pieces already, is this section just here. The old boys weren't dumb. They took what was good. And that means that if they've left this quartz vein on this side completely alone, but they've dove into the quartz vein right next to it, that means there was something worth chasing there. That was not good enough for them to keep following, but that has no relevance on me today because gold is now over 3,000 Australian dollars an ounce. Now, my stupid ass left a classifier in the car because I don't really want the loose dirt that's around this. I want the rock. So I'm going to have to do this manually, and that's going to suck and take a lot of time. I just had a sudden epiphany that I could use the flat of my pick and just scrape all the loose rock up off the top. Yeah, that'll work. I'll get some leaves and a little bit of dirt, but that's mostly rock. And that's going to save me a whole bunch of time. It's a long walk back to the car, so I'm only going to fill the bucket up about halfway and then put more in another bucket to balance me out. For all the wonderful subscribers who have left me comments over the years saying, Chris, why don't you take 2 buckets? You'll be balanced. I do listen. It just takes me 6 years or so to implement things that I hear. I can either take another half bucket sample of this material, or I can try and be a little bit sneaky. Now, that vein there is not accessible from the top for me. I need a really big ladder to get down there. But they did chase it in, and that makes me curious. That vein lines up perfectly here. Now, I tried digging down here at the height of summer, and I wasn't very successful. But perhaps today, because it's a little bit cooler, there's a slight breeze, maybe I'll be able to get deep enough to access that quartz vein. I'm gonna need my pick. Oh my god, this is still gonna be hard. Hard rock gold mining is big risk, big reward. You can sample 99 veins out of 100 and get no gold. And even on that 100th vein, you might only get a tiny fraction of gold that you need to make that vein viable. Couple that with the expense of the equipment and the time invested, this makes hard rock gold prospecting the hardest version of gold prospecting. It actually wasn't too far down. The quartz vein is right in this area. Like, this is quartz that's coming up. It's quartz float. So it means it's decayed vein that's now sitting in its original position, but it's loose from the vein and it's going to make its way down the mountain. I spent the next 30 minutes slowly digging down to try and uncover where the quartz vein became solid again. I also utilized a metal detector to make sure that there wasn't any small gold nuggets and to track the mineralization within the vein. Higher minerals often means better chances of gold. Gold can form anywhere on the fault, so anywhere on this quartz vein the gold could be, and that means that even though there's host bedrock and stuff in this sample, that doesn't mean the gold isn't in it. The gold can very easily end up in the host rock, in the country rock, as it can in the quartz. Dig around in here and just see if we can't. It's right there, I think. Surface veins rarely have a lot of gold, but if there's a little bit in it, it indicates that deeper there'll be a better deposit. So that's what we're after. Oh, it's hard. I brought along a special little tool today, a microscope. I've got a link for these in the description below. If you're a hard rock miner, they're so cheap and they're really worth it. All of that real orangey, well, I'm colorblind, I'm going to call it orange, but correct me if I'm wrong. All that orangey material is what we like to see, and all the silver material is our iron, our sulfide pockets. Microscopes or even jeweler's loops will help the amateur prospector get a close-up look at the geology that's going on within the vein structure. And if you know where the gold forms in your area, this can help identify veins a little bit quicker. So now, I just got to get this home and crushed. I hope there's gold in it. I don't know if there will be. After one agonizing walk all the way back to the car, it was finally time to get the rock crusher going. I use a King RC1 rock crusher. This little unit is designed to take 1-inch size pieces of rock down to dust. Where's the beginning? There's the beginning. Hard rock gold equipment is rather expensive. Even the cheapest hard rock equipment is still going to cost you a couple $1,000s unless you have the ability to make it yourself. This price barrier to entry is one of the reasons I count hard rock mining as one of the most difficult forms of gold processing. Now, normally if I was processing a vein that I knew had good grades in it, I would be crushing my ore down really fine. But this is a prospecting trip looking for a possible vein. So I've separated my two buckets and I've done them in a rough crush. The idea here is just to see if there is gold locked up in the rock. If there is, we will go back and take a much larger sample. I'm not going to invest money, time and energy into something that's not going to pay out. This is the stuff I scraped up off the surface. I've already detected specimens in there, but what I want to know is if there is fine gold locked up in the rock. I don't know if we're going to see gold in this. I've just done the whole bucket into one pan. We may not. Picking up specimen gold just indicates that there could have been some incursions of gold into other vein systems around the vein that they were working. So if we don't get anything in here, it's not entirely unexpected. What we ultimately want to see is not gold in here, but gold in the other test pan, because that means we can go back and work the vein. Oh, we do have a little tiny piece of gold there. There is one tiny little nanodot of gold there, but a slightly bigger piece just here. So this is in the waste rock. Obviously the old timers knew exactly what they were chasing. What I would hope to see in our next sample is more sulfides and obviously more gold. Oh, we almost, yeah, we're going to fit all that in one pan. This is where I want to see gold. Gold in the waste rock is one thing, because that means that You know, we could go there with a dry washer or a metal detector and maybe find a little bit of gold. But if we find a host vein that has enough gold to warrant the effort, it's a game changer. All right. Sulfides. Yes, we've got heaps of sulfides, and I can see gold all over that edge between the dirt and the pan. Is really fine flakes. Look at all those. And there is a decent amount. Look at that. Fine stuff. You would never be able to detect that. As I was saying, hard rock gold tends to be very, very fine. So I'm going to be going back to this spot and I'm going to be digging out a whole bunch of that quartz, as much as I can get, and do a bigger run. And we are going to have to be crushing down to talcum powder size because the gold is that small. That's a really solid result for one pan's worth of dirt. Metal detecting is not easy in my part of the world. You see, hard rock is really difficult anywhere, but metal detecting, you have to be in the exact right space to get the exact right size bit of gold for your metal detector to find. Isn't that right, Sweatpants?
Yeah. Hard rock is hard.
Yeah, I have arguably one of the best metal detectors in the world, the GPX 6000. It's really sensitive and it gets really good depth. But even with that amazing piece of technology, gold in my area that's detectable is only in a few spots. So we're going to 2 brand new mines today in the hope that we're going to find some gold specimens in their waste rock. If I was in the Golden Triangle, you could just go basically anywhere and find the right size gold. Geology is key with metal detecting. The worst part about prospecting for gold with a metal detector in my region is that all of the detectable gold is on slopes that are extraordinarily steep. It doesn't look it on camera, but this is stupidly slippery. It's like ice because there's just leaves on a probably, what, a 60-degree slope?
Something like that. 90 degrees.
Ooh, I got bushes. Oh, thank you, kind bush. I can see it. It's about 50 meters directly in front of you. Well, I stumble my way down the hillside. This is meant to be an adit that is open. It was open in 2019, so as in it hadn't collapsed. I'm hoping it still is today because that would be really cool. But more importantly, the adit is here and it is open. That means that we might be able to poke our head in and have a little look-see. This adit was reported to go back 15 meters, but I don't know if that's what it will actually go back to or not. Yeah, you don't really know, do you? Till you get in these things. This is a really interesting angle because that's horizontal level. So the vein is on about a 30-degree lean, something like that. Oh, look at that. You can even see the pick marks from where they were chipping away at the country rock to try and access this vein back here. That's interesting. Wow, that opens into a huge chamber. Whoa. Oh my God, that goes straight up. Oh, my sunglasses. I need them for outside. Oh my God, look at this. This thing is massive. That's their working face up there and down there. Oh, Gadsy, my bro, you're going to flip when you see this.
Oh, wow. Oh, what?
It's huge, Gadsy.
Jesus. It still goes further. Wow.
It goes,
look at that.
goes right up.
We could probably still keep on going.
Yeah. Gadsy's telling me that there's a working vein that looks really good. Look at all the scratch marks from the picks all over this face. Look at that. They've come in here and just cleaned this whole face up.
That's definitely worth sampling.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah. It's in the roof too, man.
That is too.
Shine your light on that one for me. Oh yeah, that's the stuff. That's that highly decayed vein.
Yeah, it's in the fault.
This would be worth sampling, but I don't have the gear for it today. It's one of the coolest mines I've ever been in. There's a pocket up the top roof there, like 15 meters above our head. And you can just see how they worked it because of the chisel marks and the chip marks in the walls where they chased the veins up. And like there's another layer, like another level above us. And this cavern is massive. Like, it's one of the best mines I've ever been in, period. Gazzy's looking up at this shelf here. I'm just trying to get up on the rubble kind of carefully.
Is it going further back?
Nah, but it's another vein that's ended out. You can see how he's chased it right to the back. That pocket up there. Oh my god, there's shinies in that vein. That vein right there.
Yeah, look at that.
You could do a heap with dynamite. There's one of the blast holes right there. So just there is the end of one of their plugs. They would have had explosives in. But that chute right above me there, that's still another, that goes up another 10, 15 meters. Easy. That almost goes, there's another level up there, bro.
I reckon there is, man.
I can see it from here. I can literally see the other level. They clearly chased this vein up, right up into the ceiling. You can see the pick marks, they followed it in. So just like yesterday where I found some really decent gold in that vein that they chased in and then left, there could be something in this. I just want to see if there's some loose pieces that I can take out and put under my microscope and possibly crush up at home. This is by far one of the best decisions I've made in recent gold prospecting history, to come to this mine and check it out. Even if we don't find anything today, seeing this is amazing. I had to switch you guys into GoPro mode because of how steep this terrain is. There's no way I can set my camera up on this slope. Whoa. Yep. And I got my first little signal here. Sounds alright, but so does lead and tin and all sorts of stuff. Now this is going to be fun because I don't have a pad to drop that onto. I shall make one. Yeah, but it could be lead or copper. Now it's really loud, so it sounds junky. This is sketchy. This is sketchier than being in the mine. Is that it? Oh, that'd be it there. Yeah, you're gonna dig a lot of this when you're metal detecting. This is what we call spalding. Spalding is like little pieces of metal that break off tools, explosives, you know, bits of tiny little shards of metal. The mine that we just looked in, like I explained yesterday with the hard rock, they were chasing a decayed vein. So I'm seeing this white quartz out in the mullock piles. We're hoping that some of the main vein crossed into the white quartz. I don't know if it will have, because they look pretty fastidious in that mine. But this sounds like a big, deep target. I reckon it's going to be a nail. So you know it's going to be a bit of crap. Yeah, right there. That is it's very hard. It's iron. So that's some kind of iron from either their tooling or their carts or whatever. More nails. Square heads too, so we know this mine is definitely old. Always go over our holes just to make sure we didn't kick something out that was hiding next to that target. This is pretty typical of metal detecting in the northeast. Lots and lots of rusty, metallic, iron gold. I got this faint little signal at the surface. And now I'm over a foot in and I got this big rock in the way. And it's screaming its head off. Now I don't think it's the rock. I think something's underneath it. But I've got to get the rock out of the way. But there's a small chance that it's the rock. And if it's the rock, Bonanza City.
Is it the rock.
I doubt it. That feels like host rock to me, so. Nah.
God. Well, that shows how good the 6000 is. It's detecting through that rock.
Over a foot down. It's definitely going to be iron. Oh, we're on solid clay though. I think we're actually under the tailings. Let's make the hole a little bit bigger, eh? That's it.
Oh, the luckiness.
Horseshoe! So I know the mythology is horseshoe up catches luck, and when you need it, you turn it upside down and it lets the luck pour onto you. So you store it like that until you need it, and then it's that way.
Empty it out then. Come on. Put it out. Oh, yeah. Give me some.
Yeah. Gadsy and I spent the next 4.5 hours visiting a few other potential mine sites, and whilst we found them, we didn't have overly much luck. But otherwise,
Yeah.
this is one of those days.
Yeah.
As I said at the start, metal detecting 100% relies on your geology, and in this area, the geology is just not conducive to producing a lot of big gold. However, same day on my way home, and I thought, hey, there's a spot that I can go and have a look for some alluvial stream gold using the metal detector. The unfortunate thing is that we're going to find a lot of shotgun pellets down here. So around hard rock mines, you tend to find steel, and on the alluvial flats, you tend to find lead. But as usual, the problem is shotgun pellets are made of lead, and lead sounds very similar to gold. Actually, you got to go over there because I got the whaling wand here. And there it is. You can see them. They're round, so they roll and they move differently in the scoop. But got to dig them. I've dug literally thousands of these every single year I've been metal detecting. Besides lead pellets, you're also going to dig up a lot of bullets. And there's a really simple explanation for this. 22 cal pistols, 22 cal rifles, shotguns were the primary weapons on the goldfields. Sometimes it was to defend the diggings. In fact, there are historic photos of people using rocket boxes with a man with a shotgun overlooking them, but most of the time it was for hunting. The diggers lived on the goldfields, so they had to procure food in the form of things like rabbits, birds, so on and so forth, and therefore we find a lot of lead out in the bush. Moving away from the hard rock mines, I was on the alluvial flats. This was a deep lead area near Beechworth. A deep lead is where the miners dug deep down underneath the earth to try and access ancient riverbeds that had been buried a long time ago. That's all I got left. It's probably just going to be a bullet or a bit of lead. It's so loud. Really? Oh, is that it there? Please don't be that. Please don't be that. God damn it. Oh, I was so hopeful with these rocks. But nothing. Another shotgun pellet. I started at 10 o'clock in the morning. It's now 4 p.m. and I finally got my first bit in the scoop. People think that metal detecting in Australia means you're guaranteed to find big nuggets, but it's all about geology. This is the kind of detectable gold that we can get in my area. You absolutely will be able to get bigger pieces than this little flake just here, but they're not as common. That is the type of gold that I tend to find. In fact, the biggest nugget that I found in this area was 3.8 grams, which is astounding for this region. But you go to the Golden Triangle and that's relatively common. Still real happy to finally be on the scoreboard after what has been a challenging day. Alluvial stream prospecting is the most common type of prospecting across the globe, and that's because most countries have gold deposits and most countries have running water. There are a few exceptions to that. Obviously, Australia has a high degree of metal detecting because outside of Victoria, we don't have that much water. The reason that alluvial stream prospecting is so popular is because it is simple. Hard rock prospecting and metal detecting require highly specialized pieces of equipment and a lot of inside experience and knowledge to make it work. Alluvial stream prospecting requires one thing only, and that's water. Alluvial stream prospecting relies on something very important, that is volume of dirt. Doesn't matter how rich your pay dirt is, if you can push through more dirt, then you're going to get more gold. That's why Parker Schnobel uses the exact same equipment that I use on the creek, except it's scaled up 20, 30, 40, 100 times. And that is where this comes in. This is a classifier. It's actually a rainwater tank protector to stop organics going into rainwater collection. But it's a very tight mesh pattern, which is what I need here on Reedy Creek because the gold is all under 3 millimeters. Yeah, you get the occasional picker and big flake, but 99% of all the gold is very small. And my dad has a saying, the problem with gold is that there's just too much dirt mixed with it. So you have two options with alluvial stream prospecting. Either you can process all the dirt as efficiently as you can, or you process some of the dirt that contains all of the gold. And that's why we classify. If we get rid of 95% of all the rock that contains no gold in it, we then increase our ability to process the dirt that just has the gold in it. Less time washing. In theory, there's going to be very little gold in this dirt. It took me 30 seconds to classify that. And that's all of our pay dirt just there. And it only took me 30 seconds to reduce it down to this. See if we've got any gold, which we do. I can actually see a decent amount of gold scattered all through that. That's really good. Get rid of the gold. All right, we'll pan down the rest of that material. And if we see any gold in here, it should be big. And literally not even one speck in that entire pan. All of the gravel that I just panned off took me about 35 seconds to pan down because of the volume. And I was pretty confident that there was no gold in it, so I could go a little bit quicker. On average, it takes me about 1 minute and 30 seconds to completely empty a pan if I don't classify. So by classifying, I'm saving myself about 45 seconds a pan. That's about 30% more efficient. Rocker boxes are not sluice boxes. They don't have constant running water over them. They operate much more like pans. By shaking this side to side, you're agitating the material and settling the gold down into the mat like you would be with a pan if you're shaking that side to side. They're incredibly efficient once you understand how they work and you get your technique down right. So today, we're classifying some buckets of really fine material and we're running it through our modified rocker box. I just did 10 shovels in 5 minutes. That's the equivalent to 5 pans. So the maths holds true. We're about 30 to 35% more efficient classifying like this. Because remember, I'm not processing this with a pan, which would take me 30 seconds per pan. I'm processing it with my little rocker box, which is going to take probably half that time, maybe 15 seconds to do a pan's worth of dirt. And by volume, every single bucket, once classified, is going to hold the equivalent of around 22 pans worth of dirt. But also kind of amazing. Can you see that pile of rock there? I now no longer have to wash literally any of that. And all of the gold from that dirt is in this bucket. I learned a lot of what I know about gold prospecting off a former inmate. After serving some 8 years behind bars in a maximum security prison,
Oh, that's gonna work fine.
he moved to Reedy Creek for several years, living off the gold that he found on a high bench deposit. And what he told me was this: it's not necessarily the piece of equipment that you have, but the manner in which you use it. You can have the fanciest, shiniest piece of gold prospecting equipment that money can buy, but if you don't know how to set it up, how to use it, how to feed it, you're going to be in a world of hurt because the machine can't make up for a knowledge gap. And that's why alluvial stream prospecting is the easiest type of gold prospecting. Doesn't matter where you are in the world, people have always managed to cobble together something that takes advantage of gold's density. Which leads me to this little nugget of wisdom. Every week I get asked which gold pan or which sluice box is the best, and I understand wanting to spend your hard-earned cash on something that's going to last and do the job properly. But the truth is, the one that works the best is the one that's with you on the creek. Learn how to use it, and don't worry so much about who made it. Soon enough, I'd run my first bucket through my modified rocker box, and it was time to classify another bucket before heading home. Because I'm choosing to reduce my dirt through classification as opposed to washing, it's very tedious. I much prefer the washing methods like using a hive anchor because they are fun, but a classifier is a lot lighter and a lot cheaper to get into the bush. Couple that with the fact that the test pans were still showing pretty decent gold grades, and I was enthusiastic enough to get another 20 litres classified down to under 3 mil. It's weird doing this in reverse order where you spend all your time classifying and just doing a little bit of processing work. Normally it's the other way around, and that's what I think tricks people into thinking that this might be a slow method. I used to think that until I saw how that guy on the upper bench was doing it. But man, it works. The old boys knew what they were doing. A little bit of brain power, a little bit of thinking, and you don't need to spend thousands of dollars to catch gold efficiently. You can do it for well under 100. The gold hasn't even really been getting much further than this first little uplift before it's getting caught, so that's cool. It's slowing right down before it even gets to the mat. That's all of our pay dirt run, and let's just try to put this in perspective. We fit all of that dirt into what the equivalent would be of about one full bucket. The first bucket I ran was about 2/3 full, and the other bucket I ran was about half full. It took me a grand total of 10 minutes to process both of those buckets. So I've got 10 minutes invested in washing. I've got about an hour invested in classifying. And that is no small pile of dirt. So it's a very efficient way of doing it with really basic, super cheap equipment. And I think that's kind of cool because it's going to get more people into the hobby. It's going to get more people out finding more gold for less investment. I can see one little flake right at the end of the Jarvie riffle, which is about halfway down the box. And I can't see any other gold at all. I'm going to guess that most of our gold was caught right up the top here, like it normally is in any kind of sluice box or any kind of dry washer. It's usually right at the beginning. And the Jarvie riffles are really good at catching fine gold. They've been the greatest improvement to my high banking setups that I've made. Oh yeah, yep, there's plenty of gold under there. Look at that flake. Now I am not in the richest spot. I'm averaging about 10 specks a pan. We've got a little cluster of gold right here. We've got another little cluster of gold right here. I got more gold up there. I don't think I need to see any more evidence. I now know that this is 110% working exactly as I had hoped it would. Just look at that. Super nice. Ooh, I can see gold. You can see gold all over that bucket. Little over an hour's worth of prospecting for this gold. I would like to do more, but the heat and the danger today is something I am taking into consideration. Now, if you're only just getting into gold prospecting, my really strong suggestion is don't do what I'm doing right now, which is cleaning up the gold on the creek. You can always clean gold up at home. You can only ever dig it when you're on the creek. So spend your time collecting concentrates and making sure that you're not going to lose any of your gold back to the river by taking them home. I've washed down most of the blonde sands and we're just being left with our dense, heavy cassiterite. This is tin and it is non-magnetic, so I have to use a series of gravity separation methods to get the gold out of it, but we can have a quick sneaky peek. It's really dense stuff, cassiterite. It takes a lot of effort to separate it. So again, I will show you properly at home, but for now we can see some of the gold that we've collected. I already know there is a lot more gold mixed up throughout this black sand, but we can see some of it on this top leading edge. Considering the technology that we're using, I'd say that's pretty good. Not a bad little take, all considering that came from just 2 buckets worth of classified dirt. Alluvial stream prospecting like this is by far the easiest way to find gold anywhere in the world. Unless, of course, you don't have access to water. Then metal detecting or dry washing is probably the way you want to go. Even though we had some pretty good success on the alluvial gold, we also had some decent success at the start of the week on that hard rock gold. Finding quartz that contains gold is an extremely difficult thing to do, so I'm very happy with that result. And I've already gone back and made a full other video on exploring that reef more where we get even more gold than this, so stay tuned for that by hitting the subscribe button and turning on all notifications, because YouTube be like unsubscribing people from my channel for some reason without asking my permissions.